pollinator garden crash course. I just had a conversation with one of my friends who is designing a pollinator garden. And I realized all the like 5 or so things I was telling him that he's got to keep an eye out for. It's a great video. So here we are. Number 1. Okay, you're making a pollinator garden. It's native plants. There's no grasses. You need grasses or the flowers are just going to fall down. You talk to experienced pollinator garden designers and installers, and this is what they'll tell you. You got to have those native grasses in there to give it that structure. It's also just good for a balanced soil. A native prairie has a good amount of grasses and forbs, so 20 to 40%, at least 20, although it can be fine to just do 20, even though that's not super close to what nature would do. Next, some plants are very aggressive. I've seen so many pollinator native plant gardens where it's like, man, this is probably really diverse a few years ago, and now it's just bee balm, anise hyssop, black-eyed Susan. It's all taken over. Why is that? Because those are more aggressive plants, and they're just going to be more aggressive, even though they're native. And so what do you got to do? You got to take those plants and put them in clumps. So I'll have a little area. This is where the aggressive plants are going. And the management looks like every year, just whack it back a bit, maybe deadheading a little bit so they don't spread so much. It's really not that hard, but if you have a little bit of black-eyed Susan evenly spread throughout an entire plot, it's like, man, can't to get rid of this. It's going to take over for sure. And so this is going to give your less aggressive plants more of a chance to actually compete. And so then what are you actually looking for? Let's say 20 to 30 native plants to your region, some good diversity. We got some vegetables growing here, but what should those plants have? Well, they should be blooming from spring to fall, obviously. Now, let's say you have a calendar, and let's say you have the month of May. In the month of May, you're going to want to have plants that bloom for specialist insects as well as for generalist insects. These are different types of insects, different types of flowers. Generalist basically means it kind of supports all the insects. Specialist, imagine a hummingbird with its long little thing. It needs a flower that has a long tube to stick its sting in, and a lot of generalists, a lot of bumblebees aren't going to like that. So for hummingbirds, you want to have specifically those type of flowers in May, June, July, throughout the year, and you want to have backups. You want to have 2 or 3 flowers doing that. And then you want to have that for generalists, maybe some other type of specialists, research your local region. And next thing you know, you got 20 or 30 plants just filling in that calendar. The thing is, if you just pick random diversity, that's great. You're actually probably going to cover most of those bases. You can just go and create one of those calendars actually for generalist specialists, May through September, and then check. And you're like, oh, the only thing I really have in the fall is this goat goldenrod. I got to get some more stuff in the fall. You're usually just going to have a couple weak points, but having that analysis, you got to fill in those weak points. So you're actually creating habitat that these insects can make their home instead of being fed. And it's like, oh, it's August. We got to go somewhere else. We can't live here. That's not good. You got to have a good diversity of plants. So you've got some grasses. You've got a diversity of flowers. And now when you go to plant them, of course, you're keeping the aggressive plants in one area. And you're looking at how nature plants prairies as far as color. And so you wouldn't have a big chunk of yellow and a big chunk of purple. You'd have yellow, purple, yellow, purple, yellow, purple, yellow, purple, yellow. You can have clumps of like 3 plants. That's actually good, so that there's more of one plant in one area. But beyond that little clump of like 3 or 4 plants, next color, another color. And that diversity is what allows these guys, these bees, these birds to be like, oh, I see some flowers. Time to get in there. Look at these flowers. Those are just marigolds. Don't judge me. Anyways, those are some of the like biggest things to consider when you're doing a pollinator garden. Now, do you need to map it out if you're building a pollinator garden? Do you need to? No, but you should probably just, if you're starting, do it and then check everything I just said and see if that's in place. If you have that knowledge, if you feel confident, you can just go take these plants, put your aggressive plants in one pile, have little tags with the color that can just be so helpful. And just do this all on the fly, but it just kind of depends on how comfortable you are with that. The grasses you want evenly spaced out, and those are kind of the most important things. Is there more to it? Yes. Some plants are going to live, some plants are going to die. Plant at least 1 plug per square foot. You get rid of the weeds before you do it. So you don't want to do a sloppy job. The way I like to do it is sheet mulch and then get rid of the weeds. See weeds come back, get rid of the weeds. Really make sure you have a clean weed bed, especially if you're building this for someone and you're going to plant it and you're out of the picture after that. You want to make it so a lot of these native plants that take 3 years to fully get to their prime actually have the ability to do that. And is it up against grass? Well, you're going to want to put a little ridge of like 8 inches of wood chips around the edge so the grass can't grow in so aggressively. And ultimately, with a pollinator garden, you want it to be so colonized by these native plants that nothing invasive can really come in. And if it does, it's just a small amount. And so it's fine because it's already everywhere and naturalized. But it's going to take a few years to get to that point. So you want to do everything you can to take care of those weeds ahead of time. Now, if you want to learn more about pollinator gardens, food forestry, I'm obsessed with it. I know everything there is to know about it. Just kidding. But I'm learning a lot and posting about it here. So follow along. And I do offer installation, design, consultation. And like I was telling you with my friend Al, I offered him consultation in the form of, coaching him up with that stuff. So I can do that for you too. Peace.